Welcome, listeners, to the Reward Navigator Podcast of SD Worx. Today, Bruce and PJ will enlighten us about the topic of the personalization of reward, something that has become really important over the course of the last years. I think, again, some findings to kick off with. Only 29% of employees are satisfied with the flexibility of their reward package, and only 18% of employees can customize their reward package based on an allocated budget, but 42% would like to have the option. I think one of the things that I've been talking about a lot also the last couple of years, the most pervasive trend that we see is the personalization of the employment relationship. And reward is, of course, a big part of that. How do we, PJ, think about SD Worx? How important is this personalization or this flexibility for our employees?
Really important, I think, for all employees. And how we do that at SD Worx is that we want to give as much as flexibility to our employees, also in their reward packages. It's actually, in my opinion, a quick win that companies can do. If you have flexibility options, the costs remain the same for the company, while at the same time, you're giving the choices to the employees to choose, do I prefer go for cash? Do I prefer to go for an extra holiday? Do I prefer to, for example, increase my car a little bit? And it gives, again, that feeling of belonging for employees. And at the same time, also for employees, throughout their career, the life cycle of their career, they can make different choices at different times. And that, for me, that's really important as a reward person, but also really important with my employee hat on.
Bruce, I guess that if you and I would go look for an apartment, we'd probably choose something different, both in size, in features, in expense.
Who knows?
Who knows? I also know that it changes over time. So how do we try to accommodate or cater for those needs of employees throughout their career?
Yeah. And if I may first give a bit more context to the figures. For me, SD Worx is my fourth employer. I've been at 3 other employers where the total compensation package compared was probably higher than at SD Worx, but at SD Worx, the flexibility is 3 times higher. And so with that unique lens, I'm going to talk now, that flexibility is our key pillar. And obviously we are an HR company and we offer that to our customers and our clients as well. We have an amazing cafeteria plan. We can do bike lease. You can do fun at work. You can participate every 2 years in the employee share plan. We have workation. We have plenty of things. And it is important that, of course, when your life composition changes, that you can go for other things. And that's the beauty of personalization, is that you decide at what moment in your life you want to pick. And if you need a bit more cash, or you need a bigger car because you have kids, or you need a bit more holidays, that you can actually do that. And we see that people value that enormously.
Playing the advocate of the devil, what I get also sometimes from the markets, from HR professionals, like, yeah, that's all good and right and fine. Aren't we spoiling people?
My honest answer is there is a risk that we... Spoiling is not the right, but that you put some sort of a psychological bar always higher and higher, and people expect always more and more. And yes, it is actually for a big part true. And there are 2 elements of it. One is if you come to a restaurant and sometimes there's the lunch menu and you don't even need to pick, it's also easy. At the other hand, sometimes you also want to pick what you need and what you want. The most important is that we remind people of, wow, it's an incredible flexibility you have.
Yeah. If I can add on that, is that we talked in the previous podcast about the reward strategy. So as an employer, we are making the choices on what we focus on compensation, on benefits, or atmosphere, and how we divide our costs into these buckets. But for me, it's not spoiling our employees. If you're doing it within the legal boundaries that you have, giving your employees the maximum choice that they can have is not spoiling. It's giving them an option to really put the most benefit in what giving them the most benefit. For me, that's not spoiling. That's just treating your employees in a mature way.
Well, I was just giving you some feedback on what's resonating in the market. I think what I pick up, I also think that it's recognizing that people are different, that people have needs that change over time, and that the more that we can accommodate to that as an employer, the more we are likely to keep them and to build a long-standing relationship with them.
No.
So I think there is the balance that you have to put. And Bruce started off well, said, I worked for companies with a better compensation pack, but less important flexibility pack. I think there in our employee value proposition, that's making the difference. And that's also for the listeners important to consider, like, what is it that you want to propose? What do you think is important from your point of view? Relating back to what you said in the beginning, business strategy, reward strategy. How do you want to present yourself to the market?
Yeah, and to add to that, going back to the question, why do you actually have a reward function in your company? Is exactly to make sure that you're attracting the right talent at one hand, and secondly, that the right talent is staying with your company. So not using all the options that you have is just not the right thing to do. Yeah. It's not spoiling. I even find it a very remarkable comment, and I don't think that any CEO or C-level should make such a comment.
Especially also it comes about this talk when we talk about younger people or younger generations that they want everything and so on. Anyway, it makes a good point. Maybe important also to recognize, you talked about strategy, we talked about the different countries, comparing and so on and so on. Is that a general trend that we see across the countries in Europe, or is that different across countries? The need for personalization.
I have had the luck to work and live in the Netherlands, in the south part of Belgium, 3 years in the United States, and did projects while I was a consultant in a few different countries. I've always felt in every country the need for personalization. I don't think there's a big difference there. And then, of course, the personalization itself is very different. As PJ also said, in some countries, it's more about a bike or a car lease. In other countries, it's very, it has different elements and aspects to it. It's more decision to take more holiday or not. And that is something, as an employer, you need to allow for. We are in 20 different countries. We need a reward policy that allows for personalization in every of those 20 countries.
Okay. One thing that I didn't hear on this topic yet is that we at SD Worx really want to maximize employee choices. We are not we put that in the hands of our employees, but that's our reward strategy. Translating that locally in every country, you of course have to take into local law and local legislation as well, of course. And there we see that throughout Europe, there are major differences country per country. That makes it difficult, of course, because we in our reward policy, we say that flexibility is a high priority. But if I then talk to colleagues from a country where that the law is not as flexible as in Belgium, that creates some difficulties, of course. But then again, it comes to communication, telling them the why, how it comes, etc. That's a comment that I sometimes hear, that it can't be given in a certain country, so we shouldn't do it at SD Worx at all. That's not the right reflex, in my opinion. No, you should stand by your policy. It's flexibility for us. It's important, and we maximize it in every country that's possible. If it's not possible, that's a shame, but it doesn't mean that we have to penalize the other countries.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen. I remember 3 things. First of all, personalization is key and is a pervasive trend, and we try to implement it as much as we can in our reward strategy, taking care of A, B, and C. Secondly, we try to maximize choice, so people actually have the options to choose what they think is important across their lifetimes and their careers. Let's look at cross-country differences and acknowledge what is there. Let's not take the low bar because something can be done. Let's try to raise the bar and to see what we can do to a maximum in each of the countries where we're present. Thank you so much.